Good morning, I'm Mai Rodriguez. Let's unlock the tricks of the trade, from managing the economy to starting and growing a business, only here on Trade Talks. Let's get down to business. If you're into a sustainable lifestyle or you want to switch to a more eco-friendly living, check out ECHOstore. Established by three forward-looking women, it has been around since 2008, offering a broad lineup of eco-friendly and natural products for people who want to take care of the environment. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. To tell us more about ECHOstore, we'll talk to Jeannie Javelosa. She's a co-founder of the ECHOstore. Good morning, Jeannie, and welcome to Trade Talks.
Good morning, Mai. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us from Mumbai right now.
Yeah. Right. We're right here in Mumbai. We brought in a women's group to be able to meet with the women chapter of the Indian Chamber of Commerce. It's called FICCI Flow. Yes.
Yes. All right. So you describe yourself as an advocate of culture, sustainability, and gender. Tell us about how this shaped the ECHOstore and what it is today.
Okay, so ECHOstore started with three women, and it was all about the fact that we were three women. And when we opened a long time ago, it's been, I think we were the pioneers in that space of green retailing. Everybody was, the customers were mostly women. No? So it became a women-led, women-supported, and women-supporting retail store, ECHOstore. And after that, we were doing a lot of developments when it came to helping the micro-entrepreneurs whose supply chain we were working with, because we were bringing green products all the way to the retail market. So this is how it started with ECHOstore. And the second, that was a social impact brand. No? And the second thing that happened was that when we formed our foundation, the ECOSI Foundation, we were brought in because a lot of the development programs were basically for women. And the women were always looking for a market, not to be able to sell their products. So what happened was that a secondary brand came out of that whole development program, and it was called Great Women. It actually was a program of the Philippine Commission of Women with the Canadian funding. And after the program ended, we had created a brand called Great Women because we had to find a way to bring the women products into the ECHOstore store markets, no, and the retail stores. So we had to have a second brand because not all the products were green. So Great Women, the brand was formed. The Philippine Commission of Women, as well as the Canadian government, then gave us the rights to just basically do what we want with it. And so we asked our lawyer, so what do we do? So they said, well, why don't you just put the trademark clearly into a legal framework? And that's how it has happened. So ECHOstore is the green brand, and Great Women is the gender supportive brand, although ECHOstore itself is all about gender and women. So when you see our storyline, it is always about supporting the micro entrepreneurs, moving all of their products as much as we can, hopefully green, but a lot of women-owned micro entrepreneurial products towards markets. Mm-hmm. That's how it actually began. And when we started to do this, Chitwan and Rita Francisco, who are my two business partners, when we were discussing it, they said, we have to be able to differentiate this because people are a little confused, which actually often happens with everything that we're doing, because we're doing quite a lot of things, no? So ECHOstore started to focus on green food and working with green processes, like farmers, organic, and that was Chit as the face, no? Yeah. Coming out of the store.
Chitwan, of course, known for her agri-tourism and her coffee farm. Yes.
Exactly, which was perfect, no, for the green angle. So I moved into Great Women. And so we started to develop the two social impact brands hand in hand, where Great Women was able to take on other products that were not literally green, right? Because a lot of women products the issues of women are totally different in a way. We started to really focus on this. So it started with a lot of helping the foundational angle of the women's products, but then soon we had to do a business related to it, some commercialization, because we had to bring the products to the market. So we actually opened, excuse me, a great women's store in our nice avenue, and it had its own life there for some time. But what was happening was really suddenly the gender issue was central to the discussion of micro entrepreneurs and women micro entrepreneurs and the issues of poverty, livelihood, the need to empower women with skills, the understanding of giving women the proper kind of training on financing, finances, and technology. Now, the challenge was a lot of people doing development programs would help the women, but there was no to market angle. Okay, so we
Yeah.
really focused on the to market direction, which is why we opened that retail store, and we started it from a perspective of women centric. Okay, now what happened then was USAID saw us and realized that we were a clear sample of a platform for the region. So we were brought to ASEAN in the direction of being able to have a gender speak. No, so we actually had trainings in the Philippines when it came to coffee and textiles, because we started to understand that, oh, in the whole region and in the world, you would have coffee farmers planting, and often these women would be weaving, especially with the indigenous peoples, where our coffees are wonderful and hard to come by, but they are creating textiles unique to their
Yes.
culture.
This is when the
Yes,
textiles would come in, aside from the
exactly.
coffee and the other products in the Echo Store, right?
Yeah. So when we were doing all the international directions, coffee and textiles were always the two things happening. So it was very clear that Chit was doing coffee and I was naturally to the textiles, because I also do culture, no, work for culture, and I know the indigenous peoples and all these angles of the design. So we dove into this kind of a direction to the point where we actually went all the way to Myanmar, Vietnam, Laos, and Bangkok. It was a whole international in the ASEAN region focus of how to be able to bring this now to a space where markets could happen. And we did have trade showcases here
Yes.
in Manila,
Yes.
where we've had our uh, partners come in, no? So it was very loose, very I think the business angle of women working together started to happen, okay? Now,
Jeannie, I'm curious about the birth of this social enterprise Echo Store, because this was 17 years ago when no
yes,
such concept existed. Could you tell
that's
us
right.
what were the challenges back then?
Well, everybody thought we'll never last because we were so way ahead of our time. Everybody said we were never going to make money. And I think they thought they were confused whether we were helping people or were we selling, which is why our process was always trying to be able to define the work that we were doing, because we were really the first ones in the field of social enterprise then, where ourselves were trying to understand, oh, so this is what they mean when they say social enterprise. So the birth of that store actually from a little shop in Serendra, after 3 months, we won an international prize of the Bid Network, and we were sent to Amsterdam. So suddenly the world opened up to us. And it was from this route, no? And ECHO had an acronym. We until now call it environment, community, hope, but we've changed H to health, organization, and O has become organic. So it has shifted through time. But
Yes.
EcoSport has stood for that pioneering spirit of what is green for nature, helping the community. So it was all about the self, our health, the community that we support through the supply chain, and the planet. So we have evolved through that. And then within that is a gender speak, right? So that second angle is great women. And now we have morphed into a bigger space, especially after COVID and pandemic, no? And
Yeah.
now also that, when you look at the marketplace, green is mainstream, which I think was really our role, because when we began, we were like the only ones green, to
Yes.
the point where when you were starting a little green business, you had to go and sell in ECHOstore to have some sense of belonging as part of that green community, no? So we have, in a way, I believe that ECHOstore had its real role in the beginning of the green retailing movement. And we could say, we are the first green retailer in a mall. And
Absolutely. And from the
yes,
store, there's now a market, then a cafe came about where it sort
yes,
of all helped each other, right? Supported each other, and it's
right.
farm to table and more.
Yes. And the farm to table incorporated there all the training angles of everything about farm to market, or everything about produce, or everything about access to market, financial access to the micro entrepreneurs in our supply chain. And this expanded now in a parallel with great women. So it's really from the Echo Store, the three of us, where these ideas and suddenly the move and the talk and the walk and
Yeah.
the bigger influencing space for, I think we wanted to really, I think we were having fun, so it was not like we were out to change the world,
Yes.
because we were like saying, you know what, let's just do something where we feel our life we have fun, number one. Number two is that we create some impact, at least within the space we could touch. And we really truly did not believe that we would be set all over the world. Between Rina, myself, and Chip, and moving around, talking about what we were doing. Especially, Rina is a quiet worker, but she works from behind the scene when it came to the development side. No, so we would span the speak whenever we would be brought outside, locally and internationally, in the different speaking engagements. So we were very clear at the way we were speaking about everything that we were doing, because it was green, it was about gender, and it was all good. I would like to think from a
Okay.
perspective of, yes,
Jeannie, we're
sorry.
going to talk more about the social impact brand Great Women and how you all encourage your customers to experience the green lifestyle in a bit. But we have to take a very short break. Trade Talks. We'll be right back.
每一块肉，每一个动物，只是我没有养它，我不认识它。可是其实它们的生命应该是跟我们家我养的狗像我的姐妹一样的宝贵。所以有这个念头之后呢，我就再也无法吃肉了。
The latest news, national issues.
For universal health care, the law is established, the implementing rules and regulations, even the budget has been defined.
The political scene.
I'm glad that he made that perfectly clear, that they will always be behind us.
And conversations with prominent personalities.
There's only one reason, politics. They want them out. What is dangerous is we might have a reorganization of governments.
All these firsthand at the forefront.
Good morning, I'm Mikey Oreta and you're watching Business 360 where we break down the numbers,
This week we saw the S&P 500 make a new historic high.
connect the dots,
They withdrew from the World Health Organization.
and give you the developments and insights you need to navigate, adapt, and lead. Real Corporation is funding artificial intelligence and data science research at the University of the Philippines.
Business 360, hosted by Mikey Oreta,
Keep it here on BNC.
the Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Welcome back to Trade Talks. We continue our discussion with Jeannie Javelosa, social entrepreneur, culture and sustainability advocate, and co-founder of the ECHOstore. So, Jeannie, from the ECHOstore, there's the ECHOC Foundation, am I pronouncing it correctly? Then comes the advocacy brand, the social impact brand, Great Women. And you told me the inspiration behind this brand and how it was conceptualized. Now, do you work with non-government organizations or government agencies, and which ones?
Yes, so basically Great Women began as a development program with the Philippine Commission of Women. And when they took us in, they realized that what the program was about, which was all about gender awareness with the local government, was not answering the need of the micro entrepreneurs in the ground, women, who were asking where can they sell their products. So of course, ECHOstore came in because we were then the only group that was selling community-based products. And when we realized that the products of these women were not all green, I told Rina, our other business partner, I think we have to create a different positioning in the market because we can't just bring it out as ECHOstore. So we said, okay, Rina said, I'll make the Great Women brand. And so she created this because we were now looking at how can we position it into the market. When that whole development program finished, the Philippine Commission of Women and the Canadian government, who was funding that program, basically said, since you created the brand, then you take it on and you do what you can, run with it to be able to commercialize and do the added angle, the missing part, which was to the market. Because today, even if you help women and there's no market and there's no reach to the market, then it doesn't really work, no? So we brought that along very early on since 2012.
Yeah. And so
the
you,
brand,
yes. I'm sorry to interrupt, but so you empower the small producers. Where do your farmers or suppliers come from?
All over the country. Basically, all over the countries. I think we were the only one really doing that north to south reach. We were working with different kinds of partners, especially under the ECOC Foundation. ECOC is, it means, again, another thing, empowering communities with hope and opportunities through sustainable initiatives, ECOC. And that's what we were doing. From there, the birth of Great Women, the brand, no? So that whole impact brand now started to look at focusing at women, and we focused on textiles.
Yes. So let's talk more about your business model because it's a very inclusive business model. It's one of the very first such things. And it supports women enterprises, cooperatives, and cultural indigenous communities. And all with the foundation, the ECHOstore, and the social impact brand Great Women, somehow these all work together synergistically.
Yes. It beautifully merged together because at the end, you have development monies needed to help the women, which as retailers and entrepreneurs, we often lack, right? We need the products to sell, and that's how the entrepreneurs would make money. But the stretch of the whole development side was not something that we could do. So this is why we had that foundation. So the foundation would bring in the grants, we would develop the women. From there, the products would now come to market and we would sell. Okay, same thing for the green products and same for the women-based products. Okay, so we focus on textiles. And so ECHOstore was doing coffee because of Chit, no, and coffee and food because Rina was there, no, bottled food. So we started to do this kind of a development where you had support of aid fund, but we were retailing the products, okay, and we had the nationwide reach. So let me speak about the side of first ECHOstore, where we were doing it first before we started to do the textiles of Great Women. So ECHOstore would look at the food products, looking at the coffee, helping the micro entrepreneurs, allowing them inclusion into market access, allowing them access to financial support when needed, no? And the banks would say, oh yes, okay, so they're doing business with you in ECHOstore, which we're going to sell the products, therefore they are viable to be able to be given a micro loan, and we would be vouching for them, no, in ECHOstore, something like this. So it happened the same way with our textiles. With weaving, we had 40 weaving communities all around the country. And I can say we are the only group I can actually say that actually touched 40. But there was an added value to this, is because I'm a culture person, no? So I've worked with indigenous peoples ever since, even before ECHOstore. So there was a need to preserve our culture. That is why we focus on the indigenous. Way before the other market groups started to come in, we were already doing this under Great Women. But we were doing from the back end, meaning we would do a documentation of the existing focus of design, the threads, the kinds of techniques that each of these weaving groups were doing. And we started to prepare them for market, you see, for order taking, which was never done before. I mean, there even came a point that Chit and I had to go to New York to show in the Javits Center the whole line of indigenous products, indigenous textiles that we had during a textile show. And again, no, people don't know much about this, but it was something we've already done with, so much work from behind the scene to prepare these women for market, to the end of that chain, where we would actually have showcases and bazaars and trading that would happen with textiles.
Jeannie, very quickly, because we're running out of time, what do you think still needs to be done for gender empowerment and sustainability in the Philippines?
Okay, that's a lot. That's a very big question. I believe that when we look at such bigger issues, we want to be able to work with collaborations, because women businesses or women support advocates cannot do it alone. We must work in collaboration. And this is why all the work we've done in Great Women has to bring in multi-stakeholder partners to see, how do we fix this whole ecosystem? If it were the textiles, we got all the way up working with Christian Louboutin, but it was because we had the Canadian government begin with us and then USAID come in with development work, right? So a full-on direction into markets that now are being carried by other groups such as Maarte, what is this, Artefino. They're now bringing out the textiles, right? But now, especially after COVID, the need for this ecosystem, that missing middle, where everybody can plug into the same specific issue that we can all work on from a business angle, is what we're working. And is, I think, the different solution we're coming into as we move into the next phase of Great Women.
Right.
That's why the festival we're having is all about the power of the network. It's solutions-based, coming with clarity. For example, we're coming out with a real inclusive business all together with stakeholders in the tourism industry called Great Women Travel and Tours. Isn't that cute if we could travel around the country helping women, enjoying ourselves? Yeah, so that's one of the direction setting, no?
Yeah, very, very, very impressive. And top really quick questions with really quick answers, because we have 1 minute left. Top 3 advice for women on how to look good and remain empowered.
Okay, number 1, come into a network. It's important because the network helps and supports you. Number 2, be wise and open to be able to learn everything that you need about your business. And number 3, heal yourself, because without the power and the wholeness that you have inside, you will not succeed. We have the 3 of this together. Yourself first, know your community and your business, and then plug into the power of that network, which is what this whole festival of Great Women is all about. It's about the power of the network.
Jeannie, great talking to you. More power to your brand and your events, the upcoming events. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
And that's it for today's show. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Stay up to date on the latest in business and the economy here on Trade Talks. Catch us again tomorrow only here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.